How's everybody doing today? Everybody good? Outstanding? Wonderful? Give a little clap. Move your body. Come on. We can't just sit still. You got to move. You got to do something. All right. So I want to start off. One of the reasons that I wanted to do a Dotloop class is when we sent out an email asking you what you wanted more training on and more info. Dotloop was mentioned more than anything else. So I want to do a class that's going to cover a lot of things there. So some of this is going to be basic because I want to go through and I want to get a basic level of understanding of where each of you are at, what you need more help in training on so that we can gauge that and do more of that. I know a lot of us have come on and we've been using transaction coordinators right from the get-go. And there's nothing wrong with using the transaction coordinator, using Chrissy. She's amazing. But you need to know what the heck you're doing in Dotloop, even though she's going to do all your work. I've never come from the premise of let somebody else do everything. No one else can do your push-ups for you. You have to do them yourself. So I need you to have an understanding of what's going on in Dotloop, how to do some of those things, because Chrissy's not always going to be available every waking minute, every time. And we need to know what we're doing there. So that's just with that being said, I'd like to get a general understanding from everybody online. If you can chat in what you think is the most important thing that you need to learn out of Dotloop. I want to make sure we hit all of those, and I want to get that from everybody in the room as well. And then I'll jump in and start covering some of the basics and make sure that we kind of get into those. So Christian, can you give me an idea what you think you need the most help with on Dotloop? Yes, it's a yes, just all around. Phil, what do you feel you need the most help with, or where you think you may have some struggles? Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay.
Want a sandwich? Do you want a sandwich?
That definitely doesn't help. Okay. Correct. Good. Sadi, what's your basic level of understanding? Well, so for those online, just so to repeat it, Phil said he's just not as proficient as he would like to be. He just wants to become a little more proficient with it. Sadi? You've never done a buyer side? Okay. Good. So we'll probably spend about 10 to 15 minutes on some of the basics, and then we'll get in and we'll hit some more of the advanced. And we already talked to Celeste before that, Sarah. Buyer side info, sending things. Okay. Michelle, you're new, so you haven't, did you do your test loops? Good. Awesome. Jackie, we've talked quite a bit, so we understand that. And then we talked as well. So Jimmy, do you know what you're doing in Dotloop? I actually knew a little bit of everything. First time. All right. So, okay, which, yeah, we can, yeah, for those of you who got multiple calendar invites, making files clean when dealing with multiple offers for a client. So dealing with multiple offers is something we definitely will talk about. I'll add a couple offers for files in so we can show you how to do that. How to add those to all of the same files so you don't have multiple different loops. We'll definitely cover that. And online, if you could online, please just chat in what you feel you need the most direction with in Dotloop. So I'm just going to start off and I'm going to jump in and we're going to go through some of the basics with Dotloop. So the real long and short basics of it. First of all, what I would like each of you to do, if you have not done this already, I would like each of you after this class, I want you to do a test loop on your personal property. I want you to act like you're listing your personal home. If you have not done that at all, do it. Go in, create a listing loop. You can make me the seller and you can make yourself the listing agent and send me an email to sign the documents. That way I have them. That way I know you did it. And then we'll coordinate and I'll talk with you and we'll go through that loop to see what you need a little more help with. That'll give me a good idea of what you need a little more help with when you're filling out some of the documents. So pretend like you're listing your property and see this first loop right here. I started a listing loop for my personal property and just put test, test, test after it. Okay. Yes. they don't automatically generate right now. Critical date timelines don't automatically generate yet. We're working on a form that will do that. So we have to manually fill that out at the moment for critical dates, but we can hit on that. Okay. And any other chats, if you can, please chat in and let me know what you think you need a little more help with. So putting test after each of those is just going to make sure that we know it's not a real file, just in case you accidentally submit it. The way you can do that is once you start your loop, up here under view details, if you click on view details, this is going to give you all of the information of your loop, all the people that are involved in it. On the top here, your loop name. It's usually going to be under use custom name. That's usually what it'll end up defaulting to when you use the Google Maps. And you can just click on that and scroll all the way to the end and just put test, test, test as many times as you want, just to make it clear that it's a test, and then hit save, and it'll save that name as your property address as a test. Okay. You have a confused look on your face.
Oh, no.
Okay. I just want to make it. Okay. It's just the glasses. You just can't see. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything. But that's the first, just checking. Just anytime I see that, look, well, I'm used to it. I work with Jimmy all the time. He's good. Okay. So let's go back. I started a listing loop. I did start a listing loop, and we can do that one more time, but I'm going to start a buyer's loop, and I'm going to show you how to, number one, just start a loop. Number two, fill in the loop autofill. We'll go through this pretty quickly because it's pretty basic. And then number three, I'm going to show you how to join the buyer's loop with the listing loop. So I'm going to show you, if you have a listing and you're getting offers, what you're going to be doing to get your buyer's agent loop into the listing loop. Okay. Good. I know it's going to clean a lot of things up. And I still haven't got any chats from people online. If you can throw in a chat or at least unmute yourself and say something, we'd love to hear from you. I'll turn that volume up a little bit. All right. So I have a listing loop here. I'm going to create a loop. Anytime you need to start a loop, it's add loop, the big blue button. We're going to put in the address of the property, start typing it in. Let Google do the work for you. It's going to see, you'll have a Google Maps for here. That's the property I'm going to use. When you're looking at this, sometimes you will see a MLS, Stellar MLS listed by name here and a listing agent. It's okay to use that if that is the listing agent that currently listed. Dotloop sometimes has old listing information. So there's been properties here where I've seen the listing agent from like 2 or 3 times ago. Don't use that. Use the most up-to-date one if there's one there, if you know it's the actual listing agent and company. Otherwise, just use Google Maps every other time. We're going to continue. The next thing we do is choose the type of loop. I already created the listing residential loop. I don't need to click that. This is the only difference really, is determining which type of loop you're going to have, and it'll just determine the documents. There's nothing different between creating a listing loop and a buyer's loop other than just choosing which one it's going to be. So listing residential, I already have. I'm going to come down here to contract. I'm going to go down these really quickly and just give a brief description of each one. These are pretty self-explanatory. A residential listing, commercial listing, or a mobile home listing that the land is not included. This is if you're selling a mobile home in a park, which we have licenses to do that as a company, but most of you don't. So you probably won't ever use this. Listing lease residential, if you're going to list a property to lease, and a listing lease for commercial, vacant land, or if there's a different type, you'll probably never use other. Contract, we have more. We have your residential. This has repair limits in it, and as is. Primarily, we're using as is just because that's what 90% of the agents are requesting and what's getting used most of the time. But the residential one just has the repair limits in it. Is going to be the different. We've updated all of these. They've got the FAR bar 6 in them. New build. Anytime you have a new construction contract, use this. What it does is it gives you a deal sheet, a blank spot to put the new construction contract in, and then our required forms for all of our contracts, all of our listings, no matter if they're new construction or not. We have required forms, which I'll show you in a second. Commercial contract, mobile home, not on land. You won't be using this one. A residential lease, a vacant land contract, other, and then onboarding, and these you'll never use those. So don't worry about those. I'm just going to go ahead and grab an as-is residential contract because that's what we're creating, a buyer's contract. We don't need to upload a photo, and we just hit done. Then from there, we're going to view the loop. Notice how it has required, required, required. I'm going to just try and breeze through the basics for you really quick. First thing that you want to do is change your loop status. It's the first thing you should probably do. This is a pre-offer. It's not an offer yet. I'm putting an offer together. So I'm going to change the status. You don't have to ever change the status of anything else. It's either going to be pre-listing or pre-offer. The back office changes the status of everything else. Let them do their job. Let them do that. If you change the status of something, it's going to change their filters, the way they search for it. If they know it's under contract and they're looking for it and they have filters open for looking for that specific thing, and you changed it because you changed it to closed because it was already closed and they're trying to close it out, it's going to throw them off. You never have to change anything else. Only pre-offer or pre-listing. That's the only thing you'll ever need to put it in. Again, view details shows you all of the details of the contract, the address, the people, the address, parcel tax ID, all the other information that you've put in, which we're going to put in a second. If you notice required forms, anytime a form is required, you will have to fill it out and submit it. It will not let you submit this for review because it has required forms. I'll show you a quick little tip real quick. If you need to get something submitted, even though you don't have a full package yet, it's okay to get it submitted. Just click on the form that's required hey, this form is required. I need it to actually submit this file. Just click on the required form and we'll put some information in. Even if it's not signed or completed, the form says, you touched me, you did something with it, I'm ready to go, and it'll allow you to submit the file. It's not recommended. You probably want to have a complete file, but sometimes you have a listing and it needs to get updated depending, and you want to get everything submitted, even though you're waiting on one last document that's not contractual. Just go to that form, act like you've changed the form, did something to the form. Dotloop says the form's been changed, and it says the form's been changed and accessed. You did something to it. Looks like we're ready to go. We'll allow you to submit it. And that's with any form. Again, not recommended, but you can do it. So just a little tip or a little trick for you. Here. So you're going to change this from to pre-offer or pre-listing. The next thing you're going to do is change this to your buyer's last name. So come to the three dots over here, gives you some options, rename, contract for Mr. McNasty. So I'm going to change that. Again, I'm anal. I like to have things detailed. I like to have it in a specific order. If you look in any of my loops, my contract deal sheet will always be the first form. I'll show you when you add forms in. Oh, thanks, Joe. I'll show you when you add forms in, they always go to the top. I'll show you that in a second. But when you do that, I always move them around and it's always in a specific order. Contract deal sheet, contract, supporting documents for the contract, non-contractual documents. It's just the way I like to do it. It's a habit I've got into. I would recommend keeping them in that order or keeping them in some fashion like that, not all over the place. So when I need to find an addendum, I know that it's not going to be up here. It's not going to be here. It's going to be right after the contract and right under other contractual documents. Okay. So notice there are gray spots here. The gray spots are empty placeholders. This loop is a filing cabinet. Each one of these slots is a drawer in that filing cabinet. The black ones have a document in it that needs to be completed. The gray ones are an empty folder, an empty file cabinet drawer that needs to have a document put in it. And we're going to get these documents from a buyer standpoint. We're going to get these documents from MLS. So I'm going to open up MLS just so I can pull some documents off of there and show you just creating a loop and adding everything in. We'll do that here in a minute. All right. So first thing you do to pre-offer or pre-listing, next thing, change the buyer's name. Next thing you have to do, we want to get as much information on these forms as possible. Dotloop automatically, these are templated forms for you. It automatically grabs your buyer's name, the seller name, the agent name, whatever you've put in there, and it puts a signature line and an initial line on every page where it's needed. and it puts in the buyer's name, seller's name, and agent name in every line where it asks for the buyer's name, agent name, or seller name. So to help you out, if you check this box up here, it highlights all of the documents. You can see it highlights all of them. Go there, and the very first time you open any of them, you're going to click, if you click open, it's going to open all of these documents, and it's going to ask you, how would you like to fill these in? Right here. How do you want to fill these in? That's what this does first. This says all the documents you've opened. Here's all of the placeholders that I can find in every single document. Fill them in here, and I will do the work for you. So you don't have to go to each page and put them in individually on every page. You don't have to add the initials on every page, the signature lines, the names, any of that. So if I put in the buyer's name, they're not there yet because I haven't added them. I'm going to put add person, and I will put their name in. If it's somebody you've already worked with, it's already going to be in your Dotloop. You don't need any other information unless you want to put it in there. If you want, you'll need their email address and their name. That's all you need. If you want to put their phone number, put it in. If you want to fill the rest out, fill it out, but you don't need it. So just name and email is all we absolutely need. If you don't have their email address yet, that's fine. We just won't be able to send them anything. Get their name on there. We can add their email address later. I'll show you where that is. We're going to add him as the buyer. There's no second buyer. The seller, we'll put somebody, I'll add my wife because she's leaving me and she's going to sell the property on me. Name, that's it. Add the person. Buyer's agent, I can add whoever I want here. I'm not going to put in a buyer's agent here. I'll put in the listing agent as myself. Well, you're also the buyer. I'll do it. I'll put in the other documents, the other stuff that you're going to need to fill out. I'll tell you what the important things are, because you don't need to fill every single thing on this page. It's honestly, it's a waste of time. And I'll tell you why. The things that are on every single page are these. The names are on nearly every single page. The address is on nearly every single page. The parcel tax ID number and the legal description. Everything else is really only in one spot, maybe two. So you're already going to fill it in once on this form, or you're going to fill it in once when you fill out the contract or the other page with the one other document that it's on. So to me, in my opinion, sometimes it can be a waste of time to fill this whole thing out, because you're going to fill this out once or you're going to fill it out on the contract once. Either way is fine for me. I don't mind. I don't care. I just like getting the important things that are on every single page. All of the names are on every page. The address is on every page. The parcel tax ID number I need to get. So I'll go to Stellar. Can you check that chat on there, or was that you again? Yes. Never add anybody to your team. I'll pull that box up in a second. Never, ever, ever, unless I ask you to. That's the only reason you should ever add anybody. If you're using Chrissy, she will add you to the team. You never have to do it. If I ask you to, then do it. But I have access to all of your files anyway, so I technically don't need to ask you to do that all the time. It just makes it easier for me sometimes. So you never have to do that. Okay, so I'm just trying to get the parcel tax ID number so I can put this. If there's a previous listing, you can always grab it from there. I don't always like to do that because the previous listing was input by somebody's hand and they may have messed it up. So I'm going to go directly to the source. So the parcel tax ID here in relist is pulling directly from the property appraiser. So I'm going to add that. And then again, the only other thing I put in is the legal description. And that's all I put in, and I'm going to hit autofill. Everything that I put into it is going to be up here. Address, names, all of them are here. And then it fills in the contract, fills in the initials for this. See, here's why I don't like to do for purposes of like testing things. Jimmy McNally was the buyer. There's no buyer initials, but he was also the buyer's agent. Dotloop gets confused when you have the same person doing two different roles, and it's just going to fill one of them. So if for test purposes, that's why I don't like to do it. But when you said to do it, it's just, I wanted to show you what will happen sometimes. So you don't go, what the hell? Why didn't it do this? It does it. If you have the same person in two different roles, it doesn't put them in both roles nearly every time. So just know that. Okay. So everything's going to fill out. You can fill out your contract. You can fill out everything, but I've opened up and gone through all these documents. You'll see that keep going. You can see the names. This was for the buyer because the buyer and Jimmy are the agent and the buyer. It's not on there, but it would have his name and everything on every single page. We have made this energy efficiency brochure. We put it in every single file now as a buyer's agent. The contract says buyer acknowledges they've received the buyer energy efficiency brochure. That's what it says. And if we've not given it to them, we've not done our job. So this is in every single file now. All right. So everything's full. Any questions on anything I've done up to this point? I know, again, it's basic. I'm just trying to breeze through it. I don't want to overcomplicate this side of it. Most of us know this. Next thing I'm gonna do, I have to hit save. Sorry, it's taking forever. All right. So now, right now, I still have, see how it says not submitted? It's not signed. It's not even completely filled out, but I did something to it. And Dotloop says, I'm good. Let's go. You can send me in. Just wanted to show you that. And then the required forms, like the flood insurance notice, nothing was done to it because it didn't add the buyer's signature to it because the buyer was in two, as the buyer and the buyer's agent. So it says nothing's been done to it. All I need to do here is click on one of these signature lines and see how it says it's assigned to no buyers. I just need to assign it to one of the buyers and click save. And that's done. I'm going to show you one more thing on this next one that, again, it didn't do it. It says required for the energy efficiency brochure. And it has initials and or signatures here. What if I wanted to add more signatures? Let's just say I want to make sure that they sign this page too. I'm going to assign this to the buyer. I'm just going to assign this to another person as well. If I wanted to do this, I can click add a signature and put a signature line here, but there's an easier way. An easier way I can do that. I have this signature. I don't want it. I want to do something different. I'm going to come down to the signatures that already exist. I'm going to draw a box around them. Notice how they turn green. That shows they're selected. If you look over here in the bottom right, it has some fields. Control-Shift-C will copy those signatures. We go to this page, Control-Shift-V will paste them. Done. This is really, really helpful on a seller's property disclosure when you have 4 pages of initials and you have to make, I'm anal. I like to take the signature line in the initial box and make sure it fits perfectly inside the little thing. So for me, I just do it once, copy it, go to the next page, paste, next page, paste, next page, paste, next page, paste. Makes it very easy. And I could just go down and scroll to another page, Control-Shift-V, paste, Control-Shift-V, paste. And if I don't want them, if they're not in the right spot, I can click on them. When you come up, why is it not allowing me to get rid of them now? Let me save them and see if it'll. Okay, there's an X. It'll get rid of it. Highlight it, get rid of it. Highlight it, click X. Highlight it, click X. Okay. And then save that and go back. Any other questions on anything so far? Pretty easy. Okay. All right. So you can see everything's been basically touched. Everything's good. I need to get documents in here really quick. I'm gonna go to attachments. I'm gonna go ahead and click and download this form. Just send it to my downloads folder. Hello, hello. Go back to Dotloop. Two different ways I can add it. I can add document. I can go to browse and pick it from my downloads folder, which is here. And double click it and it shows up. Or I hit add document and open up all of these and just grab it from the bottom and drag it and just drop. There's no property disclosure, but let's just say this was a property disclosure that I needed to add because there's a grayed out spot that's required that needs to be added. I can drag it. I can just drag it right on top of the property disclosure line where it's supposed to go and drop it. Now it still says property disclosure. Because I'm putting the property disclosure in where the property disclosure went. Notice I added too many documents. I don't need one of these. Come to the three dots, click archive. It's gone. It's never deleted. It's just gone off my page. Okay. Like I told you, I'm anal. I like things in a specific order. Why did you do that? No, not you. Why is it doing that? Watch it. I'm telling you, this only happens to me. It should not do that, but it shouldn't do. It should allow it to go right where it's at. Let me just refresh this page and do it again. But you can move any of these files around inside of here anytime that you want. Just be careful that you're not hovered over something or you will replace it. Okay. So now this is the order that I want them in. I have to fill out this homeowners association form. It opens up. I need to add initials. So I need to add the initials for the buyer. Hover over it. I need to make sure my buyer gets the initials on them, assign the field to the buyer. They're there. And I need to add the signature line. So add a signature. Click on add signature. I like things to match, so I make them the same size as the line. You'll notice little idiosyncrasies that I like to do. And I'll even fix yours if I'm going through it with you. I can't help it. It bugs me. Huh? No, I'm a Virgo, a perfectionist. Add that. You don't necessarily need to add a date because when the buyer clicks and sign this, it timestamps and dates it. That's it. So we save. And we go back. So we're good. We're good there. What'd you do?
No, don't you want to write the name of the person, the buyer, in there at the top where it says buyer?
Yeah, we can. I'm trying to go through more. I'm kind of breeze through the basics of this stuff for him. We can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to breeze through. Chrissy brought up a good point on this form that you downloaded for your buyer. Notice how the seller's name is in there because the listing agent created it, and the buyer's name, we would add text to it and click inside here and write in the buyer's name. Because you should have their name on that as well if they're going to initial and sign it, and you can click save. Notice I've not sent anything yet. I've not shared anything yet. Nobody signed anything. We're not even to that point yet. I'm just putting together the package and making sure it's all complete. So my package is getting basically complete. I've got all my documents in there. The property disclosure, I would have to do the same thing. I'd have to go in and add initials, add signature lines. Again, I would Control-Shift-C, copy and paste the initials on every page so I don't have to go back and forth every single time to do that. That's the basics of creating a buyer's loop. Once everything is done, we're still missing a tax record. If you're here in Realist, it's very IMAP, Realist, go to hillstax.org, whatever you want to do. Just click print. And print a PDF or download. right? So I've got the tax record placeholder here, tax records here. I can just drag it and drop it right on top. Good, easy. Now this is complete. Well, now the listing loop you set up the same way. The only difference is choose listing instead of contract. That's the only difference. I don't want to waste anybody's time by doing that. So we have this and this. I have to change this to a test. So I'm going to change the name so I know that it's not a real loop, just in case. Click on view details, come over here. And save, and we're good to go. All right, now I have two loops, a listing loop and a buyer's loop. If this is my listing and I'm getting offers on it, I don't want to have to keep going back and forth between loops and getting confused. And we never put contract documents in a listing loop. So here's our listing loop. I haven't filled anything out or done anything. We never put contract documents inside this listing folder. See how we have add document to this folder? We have a listing loop and we have a listing folder. We never put contract documents in a listing folder with listing documents. Okay. I think I said never put contract documents in a listing loop. That wasn't what I meant. That wasn't correct. It's never put contract documents in a listing folder inside of the listing loop. They always go in a separate folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click add folder. So I want to get that contract into my listing loop. I need to create the folder first. Add folder. Now I've got all of my choices. I don't need to really add a template because I can do this one of two ways. I can get documents over there or I can merge them. I'm going to show you both ways. The back office doesn't always like us to merge things. They will do it, but the way you can get everything into your listing loop and do everything out of here, I'll show you that, making a copy of all the documents and putting them in here. So I've got my folder. This is going to be, I'm going to label it Buyer McNally. And now I have my placeholder for it. I have to go back to my buyer side loop. Let me show you one way. They sent me a contract, or they sent me a contract, the HOA, and some other documents, and the property disclosure and tax record. I'm going to come and I'm going to make a copy. Do I want to copy it as a Dotloop document or make it a PDF? If I copy it as a Dotloop document, all that means is we're going to leave it as a fillable document with templated spots, meaning you will still be able to go in and add and change the blanks that are inside of it if you wanted to, which if a buyer's agent sends you an offer and it's a Dotloop offer, you probably want to leave it as a Dotloop document. And if you make any changes to it, it will wipe out signatures and you'll send it back to them once you've made the changes. The whole purpose of Dotloop was to eliminate having to strike through things and have a messy contract. Dotloop was great for storage, great for communication, and then also to keep things clean. Somebody sends me an offer. It's a Dotloop document offer. I can make a change to that contract by just erasing what's there. It basically says somebody made a change to this. The buyer did not acknowledge that change. So we're going to erase those initials and signatures. That change you made, you're going to have your people sign it and then send it back to the other agent. It alleviates having to have strike throughs and initials here and there, and it keeps it clean. That's one way you can do that. If you keep it as a Dotloop document, you can also just make it into a PDF. Let's just say it's already executed. It's done. Nothing's going to be changed on it. You can just copy as a flat PDF, but if they're Dotloop documents, just leave them like that. And are we going to copy it to a template? No, we're going to copy it to a loop that already exists. That loop that already exists, I'm going to search for it. Moonshell Drive. Notice I labeled this one a little different just so I could tell the difference between them. buyer test, that's the one I'm making a copy of, and I want to send it to this listing one. That's it for a test. So I'm going to grab that loop, and notice how I created the folder already. If I didn't create a folder, the only one that's going to be there is the listing seller last name. And then I would be putting contract documents into a listing folder, which we don't want to do. So you have to create the folder that it's going to go in your listing, create that folder with the buyer's last name, make a copy of those documents, choose which folder it's going to go into, and click copy. Makes a copy of all of them. You click OK. Let me come back to my loop. And here is my buyer folder, and here's my listing folder. Yes.
In this example, it was easy to tell which of the 4 addresses we wanted to choose because of the way you labeled them. I have managed to, I can't tell you how many times, copy the documents back into the buyer's agent's loop because I'm looking at identical addresses. How do I fix that? Do I change my loop address to make it a little bit different than theirs?
So the question is, when I went in here, I could tell the difference because I labeled it buyer and test instead of listing side, which was just test. And multiple times you've made copies and copied them to the same loop that they were already in because you grabbed, because they're labeled at just as the property address. So this is your Dotloop. You can change the name of them. So when someone shares information with you, what you see here, let me go back. Like if Jimmy shared this over to me as the buyer's agent, I would see this loop. If he sent it over to me as 5306 Moonshell Drive and I change it to 5306 Moonshell Drive, buyer, test, Jimmy wouldn't see that.
All right, so just make it easier on yourself and make things easy identifiable that way when you're
Notice, I think even here, I think this says, oh, somebody else did it on this main page. They've labeled it as buyer side. See this test loop buyer side. So it's when you have both, when you're the listing side and you're getting, just put in buyer side, buyer, put the address and buyer, just rename it. That way you know what it is. Otherwise, another way to tell the difference sometimes is your listing one will have the photo. Like if you're looking at these, if I didn't change that name, I wouldn't know the difference between them. So if that's why I label it buyer, but the listing side will typically always have the photo there once it gets on MLS. That'll go up. We add that to it for you. But just relabel it buyer side. So whenever somebody buyer's agent sends it over, come in here, hit rename, change it to buyer side. And that way you can tell the difference. Okay. So now I have my listing loop with the buyer side in it. Now, if I wanted to merge these, I can merge them as well. I don't recommend doing it. I'm going to show you just so you can see it, but I don't recommend merging the 2 loops. Let the back office do that. Merging takes the 2 loops and brings them together. And if you do that for a Beggins listing and a Beggins buyer, they're going to have to separate it out because they need 2 separate files for accounting purposes, and Dotloop and our accounting talks together. So if we have them all in one, because it's our buyer side and our listing side, when it's just a listing with a buyer from a co-broke, we only have one side. So we can put it in one loop. We don't need anything else. But when we have the buyer for it as well, if it's double-sided as a company, we need a separate loop. So they will separate it out from that. But you can always come down and where's the merge? Where'd it go? Did they take that off? You shouldn't need to, but it's just in case you see it, it's an option that you can do. But it looks like it's been removed anyway. I don't see it anywhere on here. So you won't need to do that. Can't wait to need to use Dotloop again. Well, to pick up, you can get off the call and pick up the phone and start calling people who need to sell their home. Go right ahead. So now we have everything in our, in one place. Everybody follow that? Any questions? Yes, it's recorded. Yeah, and we'll send it out. Okay. Let me ask some specifics. What specifically do you want me to jump into next?
I've learned several things so far. So, yay.
That's the basics. That's some of the basics. And then the main points that you had asked about. Jimmy, rack your brain and think of something else to make sure I hit some of the important points. Yes. Would you follow the same procedure? Okay. So if I double-sided this, I'm going to come to my listing. I have the buyer as well. Again, like I said, the back office will take care of separating, merging, doing whatever they want. So act like this isn't here. Notice how it says I can't archive because only admins can archive stuff with required documents. There's required documents and it won't let me. So I would want to get rid of this, but I can't because it says that there's required forms in there. So if this wasn't here, if I double-sided it, I would hit add folder. Then I'm gonna go to templates. We're going to go to, notice there's a co-broke contract template or a contract template, our buyer. Co-broke contract template. This is if I wanted to, let's just say I made a copy of everything and brought it over. If I wanted to make this, if I wanted to add documents, I want to make this a template to make it easy for the back office. I can click template and come down here to co-broke contract template, hit select all. Copy it. So now I have, notice how they're all gray. You need a contract deal sheet. The back office is going to add one. If I just submitted the as is, the homeowners, the affiliate, they're going to add a deal sheet and they were going to want it filled out. So I'm going to take my contract. I'm going to put it in on top of where the contract is. I'm going to take my homeowners association and leave it there. My property disclosure. I'm going to put the copy of the property disclosure there. And the deal sheet should be there, but it's not. It's grayed out. So I'll just add the document and go to all documents and add a contract deal sheet. And hit copy and send it. So now I have a contract deal sheet. I'll just put it where the contract deal sheet's supposed to go. And now I have a full template. Everything that the back office would want, I'll have it. Notice the difference. There is no affiliated business. There is no home warranty disclosure. There's none of that because this is not our buyer. But if I wanted one for our buyer, I'm going to go to templates and I'm going to go to contract template, our buyer, because I'm going to double side it, select all of them and hit copy. Okay. What that does is it gives you a template to go off of. These are all the documents we're going to need. So now I have to go get these documents. What type of contract am I going to use? Residential or as is? What my affiliated business, I'm going to need that. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to add document, go to my templates because these are our documents under all documents. I'm going to add an as is residential contract right here. Check that box. I don't have to copy it right away. I can come back up here and search for something else. I need affiliated business disclosure for the buyer. Check that. I need our company disclosure for our buyer. Check that. What else do I need? There's something else. Brokerage relationship disclosure is optional. The energy efficiency brochure. So I can just check all those and I can hit copy and notice I pulled all of them that I checked. I don't have to go one at a time. I could check multiple ones, keep going back and forth. If you're double siding it yourself, you create a new folder and you use the template, contract template, our buyer. If you're not double siding it, you just use the co-broke contract template. Notice, and here, company disclosures is a required form because it's our buyer. We must disclose to them our company disclosures. The as-is contract, the affiliated business is required because it's our buyer. The property disclosure we will have. So our listing over here. Oh, yep, here's our listing. Here's our property disclosure. I can grab this and drag it to a new folder if I wanted to, but it takes it out of the listing folder. So I don't want to do that. So what I want to do is I need my buyer to sign the listing side property disclosure. They're not in this folder. So I need to take this and do the same thing. I need to make a copy of it and bring it to the buyer side folder. Copy as a .loop document because it has buyer initial spaces already in it, to a loop, to the 5306 moon shell, not the buyer side. We're in the listing side. I'm going to this listing loop just in a contract folder that I already created. And notice how the buyer McNally, that's the one that we had. That was a co-bro contract. This is I didn't label this one yet, but there's a folder there for it. And I'm going to hit copy to that new folder. And there's our property disclosure. I made a copy of it. And if I open, this wasn't the real property disclosure. Actually, no, this one is. So this one, now it's going to ask me to autofill because it's the first time I'm opening a .loop document in this new folder. And this would already have I would have the buyer information already in here because I already filled out the contract, or I'd be starting to fill that out. So I put the buyer information in here and everything else, and it would autofill it. And when it autofills it, it would put your buyer initials in here already. Your seller initials would be there, would put the buyer initials in too. So I can hit save. Take this and put it over my property disclosure. Take my energy efficiency brochure, bring it down here. The tax record, we already have it down here where we would have had it. I would have added it, which right here, property details. But since it's there, I can just drag it and put it in there. But if not, I can go drag it and put it in, or I can make a copy of it the same way I just did with the property disclosure, make a copy of that and put it in there as well. Good. Any questions about that? What about a canceled contract? You create a new folder for old and new buyer documents. Specify a little bit more, like you have a buyer and you're writing a contract and the contract gets canceled, or a listing. If you have a listing and the contract gets canceled, you're going to leave that folder there. The admins, like I said, they will take care of changing these statuses, and they will change the name of the folder to canceled contract folder, buyer name. They'll start changing those things around so they know which ones they are as you submit them. If you don't submit anything to them, they don't look at it. The only way they know to look at it is if you submit it. But when you submit it to them, they will take care of that, and you can archive. Once you submit it as a canceled contract, you'll be able to archive it because it's been submitted, it's been approved, whatever's been approved and then it canceled, you'll be able to archive it. But this one won't let me archive because there's required documents in it.
Question on that.
Yes.
I was under the understanding that your archive documents, when you were no longer, they would be canceled contracts or accepted or whatever. But when I go in there, there are times when live documents are archived.
When live documents are what?
No, they're archived. I know the contract may be archived, but it should be archived.
I don't have it. I can't tell you if you have a contract that's active and it gets archived, somebody made a mistake. Either we slipped and clicked archive, or you slipped and clicked archive, or somebody made a mistake. That shouldn't happen. But the only way it'll get archived is if somebody actually clicks on it and archives it.
Here, let's show, when I show, like, so if someone does archive it, how can you see what's going on with it? If you did send something out and they can see if a buyer has looked at it, if they've signed it, or if agent has, how do we see what's going on?
Do you have one I could pull up? Because I haven't done any activity on any of those.
Fair side.
I don't think I have access to all of that.
Well, you'd at least be able to see what you signed. But you could go to mine also, it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'd have to log out and go in as an admin. Hang on 1 second. How do you submit docs? Yes, I will get to that shortly.
Check the,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hold on a second. Let me go this way. Nope. Grab the wrong one. All right, cool. That one. If you get 56 offers on a listing, you don't have to put them all in. You don't have to. So what I would recommend doing, if you have that many offers, I would recommend just going through all of the offers, putting them onto the multiple offer spreadsheet that we have. The multiple offer spreadsheet is a master sheet that will hold as many offers as you want. So put all 56 on that spreadsheet. Once you have them on that spreadsheet, you can move them around and categorize them. I would basically say, take the 56 offers that you have and figure out which ones are the top. Let's say there's 10 that are all similar. Figure out the top 10, label them all green, like color those lines green. Figure out the ones that are second behind that, make them yellow, and then leave the rest. Like say the next best, say, or let's say you have three great offers, make them green, 2 or 3 that are really good, make them yellow. Bring that spreadsheet to your seller. Take the green offers, the top 4 or 5 green offers, put them onto the multiple offer spreadsheet cost estimator that shows the net amount of proceeds from each of those offers. Show them the master sheet. Look, Mr. Seller, I did my job. I got you 56 offers. Half of them or more of them suck, but the best ones I highlighted in green. Here's why. Ba, 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 ba. The next ones were yellow. Here's why. Da, da, da. Here's the rest of them. Remember how we discussed about all the terms and stuff like that. Here's the cost estimator of all of those. And then what I would do is I would only bring in the offer that we're going to sign. There's no point in adding all of them in there if you're not going to execute them. Now, if you get one and you're dealing with that one, and then like a week later, you get a separate one. Yeah, I'd be putting them in there just because it's easy just for me to put one offer in there. I don't need to put every single offer in. Okay. So what did you want to do? You want to look if something was archived? Was there anything archived on this one? Do you know? We'll just hit show archived. Okay. So look at the bottom here. There is approved documents. If I hit show archived, it's going to show everything that's been archived on this folder. Man, you were busy. Put a lot. But if you ever archive anything, it never goes away. And if I wanted to see like what's happened on a form, I can go to history. And it tells you Samantha Beggins did this, changed the document status to approved. It talks about, and it has a date and a time for everything. So you can see when everything happened. You can see that Jimmy viewed it on this day. You can see this guy viewed it on this day. You can see this lady viewed it on this day. So if you ever have any question, is if somebody saw the document, I shared the document with them. They keep saying they didn't see it. Come here to history. Dude, it says that you looked at it. Yes, right now. It says you just looked at it. Why are you lying to me? Yes, I'm stalking you, but you can see the history. Or you go to activity log. Here's the activity log in a separate page. Can you? Yes, I'll show you. You can unarchive something. I'll show you that now. So here's your activity log. If you look at the top, go back. 2 different ways. If you just need to know one document, what happened, just click on the history under that one document, these 3 dots. If you want to know what's happened in the whole loop, click on activity log. Under activity log, it'll show you all of everything that happened. Added this, modified that, shared this, this person signed it, this person signed it. It tells you all of that for the whole loop, what's happened inside this loop. Okay. Let's go to unarchive something. We're going to show archived again. Now we have all of these grayed out. These are all archived. Well, if I want to unarchive something, I do the same thing, go to the 3 dots and hit unarchive. When I do that, it'll pop back up at the top. Nothing ever gets deleted. Nothing ever goes away. Your document will always be there. Even if you click on to change something, like say I get an offer and it's a Dotloop document and I change it because we're going to counter their offer. When I change that dollar amount, say they offered 500, I want to change it to, 515. When I change that, it automatically archives the original offer with signatures, initials in it. It does it automatically. Even though I'm working on a new document, it wipes signatures out, it automatically archives the one that was sent. And now that contract becomes an archived document with the buyer initials on it. So you can always go back to that if you wanted. Now let's say I've got this loop. This is the buyer side. Let's just say I wrote a contract. Now that I have a contract, notice how everything is not red anymore. It's all not submitted. If there was red that said required, I would not be able to submit this file. Actually, sorry, let me go back. I'm looking at it in an admin view. Let me go back to agent views just so it's more clear. As a buyer's agent, I have a contract. It's red, but it's not required. It just says not submitted. You haven't done anything with me yet. I need to submit this whole folder. I want to submit for review. There's only one folder here, so it automatically checks that folder box. It's a contract folder. Dotloop recognizes that. So it says, would you like to submit this folder, this contract folder, to contracts for review? You have the option to change it, but why would you? I'm submitting a contract, it goes to contracts. I'm submitting a listing, it goes to listings. I'm submitting a paid at closing form. I'll show you how to, we'll add one of those here shortly. You submit it to paid at closing. You guys should, let's get in the habit of doing paid at closings. If you're using Chrissy, she does it for you. But if you're doing your own stuff, you're going to need to add a paid at closing folder. Don't add it to this folder, add a new folder to your loop. So I submitted my contract folder to contracts. You can put a note here if there's anything specific you want them to look at. I just got in a habit of always adding a little note. It's just a habit that I do. I always put a little note on it. You don't have to, but it's something you can put there. If there's something that specifically needs to be looked at, put it on there. When you submit this folder, you never are submitting just one document, submit for review. If I click submit for review, even if I highlight this one document, it still says, what folder do you want to submit? When you submit, you're saying, look at my folder. I'm ready for you. You're never submitting just one document. It's looking at the whole file. So let's just say that's been submitted. It'll come back as returned or approved. It's still going to be red as returned, or it'll be black and say approved once you submit it. Okay. Questions on it? I'm going to go to the other one in just a second, but let's say now we're ready for closing. I need to click add folder. And all I really need in this folder is, just make sure you're always searching all documents, is a paid at closing. There it is. Copy. I want to change the folder name. I'm anal. I like to have these things labeled specific places the way they're supposed to be. You can label it PAC if you want, paid at closing, label it paid at closing folder, whatever. And then you would fill that out. You would come up here, submit for review. There's two folders here now. Which one do we want to submit? I want to submit my paid at closing folder. Where do I want to submit it? I want to submit it to paid at closing. Pretty simple, pretty basic, pretty easy. Okay. Any questions? Blank stares? Anybody blank stares? Give me a blank stare. Anybody?
Sorry, so I have,
What
let's see, inspection period's over. I know it's more specific, but I never like an addendum, so I know you've already added
Okay.
templates, but you know, those are two that I get questions.
All right. So let me show you two places for documents. Talk.
Don't submit a paid at closing unless everything is approved. Everything down the left side.
Yeah, you can submit a paid at closing at any time. They're just not going to do it unless your file is approved. So it doesn't make sense to submit a paid at closing form unless your file has been approved. So if you submit your contract folder, like I showed you, submit your contract folder, it'll say submitted all down this line and it'll be black, submitted. You don't have to do anything yet. Come back and take a look at it. It will say approved in black if everything is good. If it's not good, it'll say returned in red. And they're pretty good about adding a note. This box right here will be red, telling you what you need to do. And if you use Chrissy, she does all this for you. And you only have to slip her a 20 every time you walk in the door.
Or chocolate.
Or chocolate. I'm trying to get you $20. And you settle for chocolate. So you can do, you will see the returned. If it says returned and you're missing any documents, your paid at closing will not get approved and it will not get processed. So when you submit that paid at closing, your files should be complete. If it's not complete, they're going to go in and look at your paid at closing, but first they're going to go down to your folder and say, oh, sorry, not good. Send you a note back. Yep. You never gave it to us. You need to fix this. So paid at closing form will not get approved unless it's completed. Try and get in the habit of using a paid at closing. I just got an email from Joy and she said that UPS is changing policies, and we used to be able to choose up until today that an overnight will be there by 10 a.m. Well, right now they're only guaranteeing it by 3 p.m. So you don't have to worry about it with our offices because we run the checks back and forth. It's so close. But if it's from another office or someplace else, it may not be here till 3. So a paid at closing ensures you get paid at closing as long as your file is complete. If your file's not complete, the paid at closing will not be processed. The checks will come to Beggins Enterprises. The paid at closing needs to be submitted 3 days prior to closing, at least. So get your file complete, submit the paid at closing. They will take care of sending it to you in title and you'll be good to go. You'll get your check at closing. If not, this is going to sound harsh and I'm sorry, but don't come kicking and screaming the last minute saying, I really need, we had plenty of time to submit the file. You had 30 to 45 or 60 days of your contract to get the file complete, to get the missing items, to follow up with that, and don't submit files 2 days before closing, hoping they're going to approve the documents and then do your paid at closing. It's not going to happen. It won't. 3 days prior to closing, the file needs to be completed and paid at closing submitted. And that's 3 business days. 3 business days. Sometimes you can submit something on a Thursday or Friday. It might be ready Monday because sometimes they do work on weekends. That's not an expectation. So 3 business days to make sure it's completed. They'll have a disbursement authorization. And just understand a disbursement authorization is the same as a paid at closing. So when a title company says, do you have a DA for this file or a disbursement authorization for this file? That's a paid at closing. It's the same thing. Okay. Just going to do, oh yeah, documents. When we are adding documents, I'm going to show you 2 places. Templates. All documents are our documents. They're Century 21 Beggins documents. We went through all of the Florida interactive forms that you would need for a file, nearly every single one of them. There's probably not one that you'll miss as far as addenda or other documents. They're going to be under all documents. Those are our forms. We've templated them for you. They're good. But if you need a specific form that you can't find, go to Florida Interactive Forms. These are all of the Florida Realtor forms. So it's basically all the ones that we already have that we have the Century 21 Beggins logos and information on, but these are done by the Florida Association of Realtors. And it just has the Florida Association of Realtors logo on it instead of our Century 21. So there are documents that are here that are not in our all documents file, but you'll probably only use them once or twice. You won't have to go here much at all, but just know if you can't find it there, try Florida Interactive Forms if you know it's a Florida Realtors document. Like I said, not many that you'll need, but it is there. Also, I have an email and oh man, people like me today. Let me see something. Jimmy, send me an email with a PDF attached. Can you do that, please? I'm going to show you the couple different ways to get a document into Dotloop. Templates is browsing your computer. Browsing our documents. Browse is browsing your computer. So I have a download. I need to get in here, double click it. It'll go. You'll get it in there. Dotloop only accepts PDFs. So if you're trying to get a document in and it keeps kicking it back and going, sorry, not happening. First thing you should look at is the document a PDF? Not every document is a PDF. It won't take Excel. It won't take a JPEG. It won't take images. It won't take any of that. Did you do? Yeah. I was going to say, I guess I could have just sent myself an email with a PDF attached to it. If you are out, this is, so you're working mobily. I'm on my cell phone. I have an addenda that needs to be signed. It's in an email. How the hell am I going to get it into Dotloop when I'm sitting in my car in the parking lot and it's 30 minutes back to the office or my computer to get it printed or downloaded and dragged up in there? I can't do that on my phone. I can't download on my phone and drag it in and do that. There's no download folder here. The other way you can do it is come here. I have an email with the attachment. Okay. I'm going to come back to Dotloop. You have the email option. I'm going to click on email. I'm going to copy this link to the clipboard and I'm going to come back to the email that I need with that. It doesn't matter what's in the body of the email. You can have anything you want in the body of the email. It does not matter as long as there's a PDF attached that you need in there. I'm going to forward it and I'm going to forward it to that copied link that I have. And I'm going to click send. I'm going to come back to Dotloop. We'll see how long this takes. It might take a minute, but it will show up right at the top, just like as if you were dragging it from your computer. Oh, it says that. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. Oh no, I'm good. That's right. Yep. So there's the document. It emailed it right in. So from your phone, just forward it, copy that link. You can add document, copy the email link in your phone on your Dotloop app, go back to your Gmail app, forward to that link. It'll drop right into your Dotloop file while you're out on your phone. No matter. That's fine. I don't think we need to. Now this says this label is kind of funny. I don't like it. I can come here and click rename. You can rename anything that you want. And click through here and I'm just going to change it to no, it's done. You can change any of the names that you want to anything that you want. When you do try to replace a document with something, it usually pops up and it says you're about to replace this document with this for that. Do you want to do that? Not in this case. I don't. Sorry, I screwed up, and it brings it back. So just double check you're replacing the right documents with the right documents. Any other questions? Online, any questions? Any other thoughts? Anything else you think you want to add in? And then the listing side, it's not any different. You're filling out documents the same way as you did for the buyer side. You're just filling out a few more documents because you have the MLS data form. So that's more the data form than anything. It's not really a Dotloop thing. You're just filling documents out. Yes. Okay, good question. If the other agent doesn't use Dotloop, okay, well, actually first we didn't share anything. So let's do that and then we'll get to that. So I have this buyer contract I need to share to the buyer. I want to share the contract. I want to share the association, the affiliated business, company disclosure, everything that needs initials or signatures. And I'm going to come up here and click share. Here, this is the person that it needs to share to. It tells you how many fields they need to sign. And you have options for can sign, can fill and sign, or can edit in private. Can sign is all they can do is click on the box that you gave to them to initial and sign. Every place there's an initial box, every place there's a signature line, they can click and sign. Can sign. That's it. Can fill and sign. Every place in Dotloop that there is a blank, they can fill it out. Whether it's assigned to them or not, They can fill out anything in Dotloop. They could change your contract, change your listing agreement. So guess what? We're never doing with any contractual documents. We're never giving them can fill and sign usage on that. The only time you'll really ever use that is if it's not a contractual document and they need to fill things out in it. Seller's property disclosure. I have to give them the right to fill out the seller's property disclosure. Because there's multiple things they have to be able to check a box, and it's going to go from line to line to line to circle to circle to circle. Do you want to check this? Do you want to check that? Do you need to fill this? Do you need to fill that? Can fill and sign. But with the property disclosure, what happens when you add or change a form and it's already initialed or signed? What happens to that form? If they already initialed and signed it and you go in and change it, what happens to it? It wipes out the person's initials because a change was made and said, nope, they didn't acknowledge this change. So let me wipe their signature out. With a property disclosure, when you want to have, as a listing agent, when you want to have someone fill out a property disclosure, send it to one seller as can fill and sign first. Just one can fill and sign. If I send it to both of them can fill and sign, they're going to be warring back and forth with each other. I'm going to fill it out and sign it. The other person's going to come in and just, okay, I'll just click and sign it. They click and sign. The other person wasn't done filling it out. When they go to click the next box, it's going to wipe out the person's signatures and they're going to be wondering, I already signed it. I don't know what the hell's the problem with it. It's your system. It's messed up. But what really happened was you sent it to both of them as can fill and sign. And every time the person went to fill out the form, the other person initials it, and it just kept wiping out that person's initial. And now you still have to send it back to somebody. So send it to one party as can fill and sign. Let them complete the document. Figure out, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Seller, who's going to fill out the form. Who knows more about the property? Who's going to complete the form correctly? Doesn't matter. I don't care who. One of them do it. Send it to them as can fill and sign. When it comes back completed, then send it to the other one as can sign. All they're going to do is acknowledge that the other person filled out the form and acknowledge all the answers they put in. Okay. Same thing. If I wanted to add, let's say I have a third-party title company that's not Paramount, who I can't go on a portal and fill out. They send me a document that has a bunch of lines that need to be filled in. I don't want to fill in seller's social security number, seller's address, seller's this answering questions that I don't know the answer to. And I want to help my buyer or my buyer out. They want buyer information. I want to help my buyer out. I don't want to send them the form that they have to print out, hand fill out, scan it, send it back. So let's just say this is a buyer info form and there's multiple lines that need to be filled out. I'm going to come up here and hit add text. Let's just say they're asking for the buyer's address. I'm just going to put a text box here for them to fill out their address. And I'm going to come up here and assign it to the buyer. Now notice I can't fill it out. It's not my blank to fill out. It's the buyer's buyer's blank. So I'm going to say, this is for the buyer. Buyer needs to fill this one out. There's another line that needs to be filled in. Buyer, Mr. Buyer, you need to fill this in. Make the appropriate size line, assign it to the buyer. So I can put a blank spot in anything. I use this for my own personal documents. I have a personal Dotloop folder that I have personal documents in. When I don't feel like having to print something, I add text, I fill it all out, add my own signature, send it to myself, sign it, send it back. I use it for all my own, for personal stuff. But you can add a text box. Now the buyer will sign it. When you send it to them as can sign, it'll allow them to fill that in as well. They don't need can fill and sign because they don't need to fill anything else in that's not assigned to them. All they have to do is acknowledge and sign and fill in the documents that have been assigned to them. Yes. If it says there's no fields on it, you've not assigned anything to them. So like if I just put this text box in here and I assign it to no one, I'll show you what it'll say. If I assign this to no one and I get rid of this, If I go to save and share, nobody's selected because nobody's been assigned anything. I can click on this person, but it only gives me the option to send it to them as view only because there's nothing for them to do. No signature, no signing, no filling out, no anything. I'm just sending them a document to look at. And if the other agent doesn't use Dotloop, if I'm sharing something to somebody who doesn't use Dotloop, I have a contract here. I need to send all of these documents. I want to send them to the listing agent. I'm going to come here to share. I would have already had the listing agent's information. I would have auto-filled it in, but if not, I can add them. I can put in a listing agent here. You'll always need a role. That's the listing agent. And when I send it to them, I'm sending it to them. You can send it as view only, and it's just going to be them looking at the document. Or I can send it to them as can edit in private. That's the right way to do it with, if they use Dotloop regularly, can edit in private is the right way to do it with a Dotloop agent. If not, you can send it to them as view only if you want, but always check this box down at the bottom, attach PDF to email. Because that way, when they get the email, they have the Dotloop email that says, hey, look at me, you've got something to do like this. Somebody shared this contract with you. Here's this. When they scroll to the bottom, there'll be a PDF here as well. Oh, you've all dealt with other agents. They get real pissy over nothing. I got to log into Dotloop and click to download and make a PDF. Oh my goodness. Some of them. So just get in a habit. Anytime you're sharing something to an agent who's not using Dotloop, just share it to them with a PDF attached and do it as can edit in private. Another agent should always have the can edit in private option. That way, if they want to change any of the terms and make a counter offer through Dotloop, they can. More than likely, they're just going to download the PDF, make whatever change in their system and send it back as a PDF. But if they wanted to, they could do that. Fill and sign is going to be for your buyers and sellers. Edit in private is going to be for a listing agent if you're submitting an offer. Can edit in private. I want the listing agent to be able to do whatever they want with, once I send it to them, it's theirs. They could do whatever they want with it, edit it, change the terms, counter offer, and send it back with their buyer's initials on, with their seller's initials on it. And then I'll have the option to accept that by sending it to my people. They'll send it back as can edit in private. You have your own copy of that document that's been sent to you that you can edit, and they won't see any of it. If you ever accidentally add someone to your team, you're fired. I'm sorry. We just can't have you. If you ever do that, what it does is it allows them to see everything. It basically gives them admin access to everything in that folder. They will be able to access every document, everything that you have, change anything they want, do anything. So like I said, you're fired. I'm sorry. We'll take you back, but it's, you just have to, you have to know that you don't ever add anybody to the team. Okay. Did you find anything else that you wanted to cover?
I get this a lot. I need to reshare it, maybe.
Okay. Okay. So I need to reshare. This happens regularly. I've sent an email. I've shared it for them to sign. Hey, I didn't get that. Okay. I know you did. I sent it to you. It probably went to spam, but let me show you where that's at. I'm going to share something to you. I think. All right. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say the buyer, Jimmy McNally, I'm going to send these to him that he can sign. So I'm going to click share. So it's been shared. It's been shared to Jimmy. He got the email, but apparently apparently he's that buyer who doesn't get emails that you send to them. I don't know. I didn't see it. I must not. Can you resend it to me? you don't have to come here and resend everything, right? So what we'll do is, let's say he didn't get one of the documents, but he got some other ones. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to click share. Notice Jimmy's name is not there anymore. I can't send it to him because it says they already have access to it. It's already been shared to them. This right here, reshare and more options. I'm going to click reshare and more options. These are people that have already had access to it. So I'm going to click on them again. And Jimmy McNally, buyer's agent, can sign, reshare. Document was successfully reshared. You got it this time. Don't tell me you didn't get that dang email. I know you got the email. Oh, you got it. This is. Yep. And then, yeah, I'm going to come up here to the activity log and I'm going to take a snippet of, it says right here, look, I shared all of these with you at 12:22 and your email must be up. Yeah. So I sent, yeah. So that's, if you have to reshare anything, if their name doesn't show up there, it's reshare and more options. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, I know there's a lot, but I know most of you are proficient at it, have used it and are using it and doing that. So I just want to give you all those little tips, tools, tricks. Remember, Chrissy likes dark chocolate and she does this. Chrissy likes dark chocolate and Andrew Jackson's, and slip her some $20 bill. So you can slip her some dark chocolate for doing all of your contract paperwork. White too? And wine. Oh yeah, dark chocolate and wine. All right. If nobody else has any other questions, then we could wrap it up for today. Oh yeah, your homework. If you need help and you feel like you need practice, create a listing loop for your personal property that you live in. I'm getting about to, apparently Chrissy is here. Apparently she likes more than dark chocolate. Tell me.
If you accidentally put someone on your team and you go, oh my, if they haven't accepted it yet, you can go back and cancel that. Just remember that, just because you did, as long as they haven't, you can see down there at the bottom. So, but although
I don't even want to give you that option. I'm not even going to tell people online that. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. If you accidentally click add to my team, a big pop-up box pops up and says, are you sure? Because people are going to be really pissed off if you do this and you can't undo this. There's nothing you can do to fix this. It's going to be a real big problem. If you really want to do this, click this button here. Don't do that. So just don't use the add to my team. Do not accidentally hit that button. Have you ever talked to anybody or have you ever met anybody that clicked the add to my team button? See, she's fired. They're not here. Yeah.
And you would have thought it was the end of the world. She just had a connection with everybody and nobody could fix it. They're just telling her, "Write it on the lips or just ignore it instead of making 50 other people miserable."
and nobody can correct it.
Yeah, there's nothing that can correct it or fix it. So that's why I make jokes about it partially to try and just inflect something different into it to hopefully that you'll remember. Oh, like Chris joked about me. Will you really fire me if I do? No, we're not going to fire you. We can't fix it, but we'll get through it. So just make sure we don't do that, please. What else? So hopefully, like I said, you see what Chrissy does all the time. So bring her chocolate, please. If
Wine works too.
wine and chocolate, that's good. So with that being said, we'll wrap everything up. You guys have a great day. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.